Do you need encouragement to turn tragedies into your own triumphant life story? If so, this podcast is for you. Listen to powerful guests who have persevered through challenges so you can gain strength to build your championship life. The host of Professor of Perseverance podcast, Dr. James Purdue.
Come on in on that snowy day of Vegas, Tennessee. Well, Nashville, Tennessee. All right. Man, we freak out when we get half an inch snow. We accumulated 8 inches. We'll be snowed in for a month in this area the way we do. All right. It's not that our state, county, city, they do the best they can. They brine the road. They clean it off the best they can. It's just us Tennesseans can't drive in it. We don't know what we're doing. All right. When I say us, I'm not including me because I don't even get out and drive in it anymore. So it's you I'm talking to. So, all right. So we don't need, but again, our stores love it when this snow comes because we buy up all the bread, bacon, milk, anything, Twinkies. I don't know. We buy up the whole store because we're worried about being caved in for 3 days. So, all right. So, hey, that's an adversity in itself to be able to persevere through all this snow, which our guest, she's laughing at 8 inches. She goes, that's all you get. And she laughs. 8 inches for is basically a whole year for us. So, but she's like, but our guest today, we're going to talk about how we lose our voice, our self-confidence, low self-esteem, and how we build ourselves back up from it. Okay. And so welcome to the show. Let's go and get started here. Welcome to the show, Sara. Let me click that button. Sara, where am I clicking? There we go. Sara Glendenning. Thank you. Come on in here.
Hi, how are you?
Hey, I'm better than I deserve, as another radio host would say.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me here.
Yeah, we'll. I think we're good for about 2 days, and then we'll reevaluate everything, see how things go from there.
Yeah, so, absolutely.
Yeah, you're laughing at 8. You're laughing at 8 inches, huh?
Yeah. Well, I'm living it. I got stuck in the driveway yesterday. Let's just put it that way. But 8 inches is still quite a bit to get in like a short period of time.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, like I said, for us, normally this 8 inches is probably a whole year for us. And so we don't get basically a whole lot. But last year, I forgot how many inches, but it was the 2 to 3 inches of ice that came first. And we were shut down for a whole week. And it came on Valentine's Day last year. So, I mean, I guess that's good for the Valentine lovers, that they're homebound for a week, I guess. But so, all right, Sara, we better get started here. People will say, forget the snow, let's go. So, all right. So you said you learned to speak very young, and I'm assuming better than the average toddler. Okay. But then somewhere along the line, you said you lost your voice, and then your low self-esteem came, low self-confidence came along with that. Now, when I was reading this, when you said lost your voice, did you lose it physically, or did you lose it, your power of voice, and then your self-esteem, confidence, everything went with it?
Yeah, so it's definitely the latter. So growing up, I have like a ton of memories of my grandfather specifically, who had 10 children, would look at my mom and we would go to visit and would be like, what is wrong with your child? She speaks and she understands language like way beyond what a 2-year-old should be able to talk. It's not that I was just using like big words. I actually had like an understanding of what they meant. Fast forward to elementary school, and I could not read or write. And I managed to fly under the radar until I was in about grade 3, when my teachers started to catch on, conversations with my parents, and they made the decision to actually have me repeat grade 3 so that I could catch up and learn the valuable skills of being able to read and write that we do need. And through that, I lost my voice, like through that kind of traumatic experience of, not being in class with my friends anymore. And, I
was going to say repeating the grade, leaving friends behind, kind of blew you away.
Yeah. Because at that age, from my perspective, my friends were all I really cared about. Right. It wasn't even like actual school. Right. I had done something so profoundly wrong that I couldn't understand at that age. And we didn't really talk about it either. It wasn't something back then that got talked about. It was just the way it was, and on we go. And then it was something that I had to relearn and retrain that I did absolutely nothing wrong. 40% of the population has the same diagnosis that I do. It's just undiagnosed 90% of the time. And that it's okay. It's really okay.
I repeated the second grade.
Yeah.
So, and I turned out okie dokie.
I'd say so. Absolutely.
So, yeah, of course, at that age, second grader, third grader, it is devastating. Like I said, and it's not because of repeating and relearning. It's leaving your friends. These are people you've been with for a few years, and now they're going ahead. Now you're embarrassed because now you're leaving them, they're leaving you, and now you got to make new friends.
Mm-hmm. Well, and you just don't really understand why, right? Like, it's this horrific thing that has happened. Like, why do they get to move on and I don't get to, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. That I did my best, and my best wasn't good enough. Is what you? And again, you don't understand. You just know you're going through the grade over.
Yeah.
So all right. So all of that kind of, like I said, took your voice away from you, your power, and then you withdrew, and you low self confidence and self esteem. And we already know there's a lot of people with the low self esteem and confidence level out there that they don't have to fail a grade. It's really out there, and people really suffer and struggle through that for whatever reason. I mean, there's a million different reasons, but yeah, we already know there's a bunch of people out there. All right, so now that you're going through the feeling of losing your power, your voice, and everything, so well, you said that they started giving you therapy or seeing someone.
No, they didn't. That's honestly the one thing that I wish had happened back then, but we're talking about like the late 80s, early 90s. And therapy was not something that was talked about. So essentially when the school board was talking to my parents, they were told by the school board that I would not amount to anything, that I would be lucky to graduate from high school, and essentially would just be a victim of the system. And my parents were not okay with that. That was like a hard no. So they went along with the school board's plan for me to repeat grade 3. I was put into a smaller class where the focus was on, what they would call the important subjects, the math, the science, the reading, to help me propel me forward to catch up. And they continued to kind of say that, it doesn't matter what you do or what happens, she'll be lucky to have a post-secondary education. And so my parents, I was more or less immediately pulled out of any extracurricular activities that I was in, and it was all about tutoring. I played the piano.
That even puts more pressure on your confidence and self-esteem, because now you can't even go play with your friends after school.
Yeah. And I played piano because that was good for like the the hand brain coordination stuff they talk about. So we did that for a few years, and I started to advance beyond what they expected. And I actually ended up graduating from high school. I have a degree in nursing. I'm a registered nurse by trade. And I did everything that my parents...
We got to stop there first. Nursing. Yeah. I am a full believer that the health program is run basically by the nursing. All right. I understand you got your doctors, but when they come in and spend 8 minutes with me and they think they're God, and the nurse that are being there 24/7, coming in and out when I need something, those are the ones. Because I don't know if you know, but I'm a spinal cord injury. You got my neck broke playing football. I'm in a wheelchair. And Nurse Vicky, you still have an ache in my heart. You need to come back into my life. Nurse Vicky, boy, did I fall hard for her, even though I could walk. And you nurses, yes, you are the backbone of everything. Again, I know doctors got to do their little thing. They got a million people to see and everything, but the special care comes from these nurses. I don't know what they're called, the ones that are nursing assistants. All these letters have changed since I've been in the hospital in 1983. But again, those people are the backbone of the healthcare, and I want to thank you for you being in there and helping the people that dearly need it.
Oh, thank you. I will absolutely receive that.
So, and Nurse Vicky, you ever hear this podcast? My heart's still aching. Come on back and give me a call or something. All right. So now that I interrupted that, go ahead. You got into your nursing and.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So ultimately, the reason I became a nurse, it was not a choice that I made. It was not something I wanted to do because, as we've talked about, my voice got taken and my confidence was taken when I failed grade 3. And it was the whole piece around it and not understanding. So when I was in my early 20s, it was, you got to go to school. What are you doing? And for me, it was, I don't know. And I've probably said those 3 words 100 million billion times. Like, I don't know what I want to do. I never knew, because I didn't have the confidence in myself to believe that I actually could make that decision for myself and follow something that I wanted to do. So I ended up doing what, my mom told me to do, which there's absolutely nothing there. And I love her to death, but I wasn't meant to be a nurse. That's not what was for me. But I did it because my mom, my younger sister was in nursing school. My mom said over and over again, just go to nursing school. There's so many opportunities. You can do this. So I did, because part of me had to prove the system wrong. I had to say no, like, this is for me. And you don't get to decide what I'm capable of. But the twisted and the crazy side of this is that when I did complete my 4 years after, working full time, putting myself through school, on my graduation day, I dreaded it. I didn't want to go. I didn't feel I was worthy. And I wasn't going to take that time to stop and celebrate this accomplishment because I wasn't worthy of it. I didn't do anything special. It's time to move on to the next thing. I got to get a job and pay off my school debt and buy a house and do all the things, right?
That's right.
And it really wasn't until I wrote my story last year in The Great Canadian Woman, She is Strong and Free, that I realized on a deeper level how much I truly did not believe that I was capable or did not believe I was worthy, and how angry and bitter I was at so many people around me, especially my mom, for the experience that I went through when I was 8 years old.
Yeah, we're looking at a book on YouTube for the ones that are podcast listeners. It's The Great Canadian Woman. She is Strong and Free. And this has a 3 because you said it's a 3rd-part series or somewhat.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, it's the 3rd volume.
Okay. And so, all right. So there's nothing wrong with going to graduate and be a nurse. And there's a lot of people that don't use their degree once they finish it.
Mm-hmm.
I got into education. I taught for about 12, 14 years and got out. And now I'm doing this. So it's not that, it's not everybody uses their degree once they get out. There's still plenty of things to do in life that doesn't require a degree, or you can use it to advance yourself in a different area. So
no, absolutely. Yeah. And for me, my nursing, I don't regret it at all. I enjoy it most days. But I also know that it's not my forever. And now I'm more excited about life, and writing my story and sharing it, it removed kind of that negative connotation that I had around my experience. And it's also, in a crazy way, it brings in so many people that go, oh, me too. I feel the same way, or, oh, I felt the same way. And now we're able to connect on that level, and it is healing.
Yeah. And again, it's a form of therapy when you can meet someone else, and then you can discuss with each other, and both of you are opening up to each other. So it's a form of therapy to help each other and, again, learn and then help the next person that comes along. So Now, I mentioned earlier, I thought that you had, therapy started when you were young. So you were saying that didn't happen for a while, that they got some therapy for you?
No, therapy happened when I was in my early 20s. So essentially through high school, alcohol became a friend of mine because, like we said before, I lost my confidence. I lost my worth. I felt so different from the kids around me because I was different, but we're all different. And this is the thing. But at that age, all I wanted was to hang out with that group of girls, but they would never accept me because I was different. But it was all a narrative. It wasn't like a mean girl bullying situation. It was a narrative that I'd convinced myself of, because I'm really good at convincing myself of crazy things that don't exist.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
so into high school, the alcohol became my friend, and it got to the point when I was about 22 that my mom said either like you go to therapy and you deal with your shit. Sorry, can I
Hmm.
swear? Okay. Or
Hey, it's your platform. All I'm doing is putting it out there. You
all
did.
right.
I don't want to limit anybody. You be you.
All right. Or you go to therapy and you deal with it, or like you move out. Like I'm done. I can't I can't continue down this
Oh,
road.
so this tough love coming.
It was a whole lot of tough love. Yeah, it
Yeah.
was. I was, but in a sense, I was out all night every night. She never knew what I was doing or what I was up to, and I was, yes, an adult at 23 years old, but I was not carrying, and I worked full time, but I was not carrying on like an adult, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, I wasn't making good decisions for my body or myself or anything. So I chose therapy because at that point I wasn't ready to take that leap and move out, and I truly wasn't happy, and my mom knew that. So
Hmm.
she knew that the tough love would work with me. So I ended up in therapy, and that was kind of my first journey through healing, and the drinking slowly stopped, and I ended up going back to school. And like I said, I got my nursing degree. Um, yeah.
Now, has the drinking stopped completely, or do you go back every now and again? Social drinking.
So because drinking in high school became and into my early 20s was very much like it made me feel like I was like the same as other people. It made me feel less different.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, it definitely was still a social thing that was happening. Up until like through nursing school periodically, and then postgraduate nurses, it's what we do. For a
Yeah.
lot of us, our downtime, it's we're hanging out and we're having a glass of wine, or we're doing whatever. But in the last about year or so, I have been like 100%. I haven't had a single beverage.
Okay. And I don't have anything against drinking. The problem I have is when you lose control
Yeah.
because of it, and then you don't know if you're finding love in the wrong places with the wrong person. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Um, Going to jail or some whatever. I got a friend. He spent half his life locked up, off and on, and every time it's because he got stupid drunk and do something, and then get locked up. And finally, after 20, again, it was off and on. It was like 3 years in, 4 years out. Then you do something stupid again, back in for 5, and then back out. But finally, it hit him. When I drink too much, I go to
Mm-hmm.
jail. I said I'd have figured that out the first time I went, but it took him forever to figure it because he loved the drinking and getting drunk. So
Mm-hmm.
that's the only thing I have. And plus, I had a brother that died, and his alcoholism caught up with him. And
Yeah.
so I don't condemn anybody that drinks. I just
No.
condemn when it's excessive and they're hurting themselves, and
Mm-hmm.
when they just don't understand. I don't know if they don't understand or they just don't care. I don't know if they don't care, but they're hurting their loved ones and their other people friendships around them because they see them so bad. Like your mama saw you and wanted
Mm-hmm.
you to either get clean fixed or you can go do it on your own. And
Yeah.
so yeah, so the people that just, again, I don't say they don't care, but I don't know if they don't realize that they're hurting the other people that loves them.
Yeah, I
So
think so much time when it comes to an addiction, and like really an addiction of any kind, it's not they're not hurting their loved ones intentionally. I
yeah,
feel
yeah, I don't think it's intentional. No,
no,
it's
I
just they
feel
got into this addiction, like you said, and they've
mhm,
got to have it. They may try to withstand from it, but the addiction's so strong they got to go back. Yeah,
yeah.
no, I don't think. Yeah, I don't think they do it intentionally on purpose. Yeah, to hurt anyone.
Mhm.
So.
No, I think it's more like their internal pain, and
Hmm.
that's they're using what we would call a negative coping mechanism to deal with it, but their internal pain is so great that they need some like they're running from their own selves, right?
I
Because I
think we're
can't
all
tell you.
addicted. I think we're all addicted to
Oh,
something.
absolutely.
It's whether again it's hurting us physically or whatnot. Um,
Mhm.
I mean, I'm addicted to banana splits, so that's me. And
Mhm.
so I mean, and shoot, I'm addicted to this podcasting now. I've
Mhm.
had plenty of people like you that I learned from, give me some powerful message, something to get me through today, and I'm addicted to this as well. So you're the first of 3 today I've got. And
Oh,
so,
wow.
yeah, so I mean, I grab whenever they want to come, then we're doing it. So as long as everything's going. All right. So now you've just mother gave you those tough love, and you got straight and saw a therapist and whatnot. And so now what's planned for Sara here in the future?
Yeah, so now I'm like registered. I'm a working registered nurse, as I said now. Um, but since writing this chapter in this book and really spending about a year and a half before I wrote, working on myself and taking a deep dive into who I am and all of my things, right? I had to put in some boundaries with some people that I love, but I also had to put in some boundaries with myself because it was so easy for me to blame everyone around me for what was happening in my life. And I worked with a coach, and I got myself back in therapy after years of burnout as a nurse. And really, that all started and happened because I could not continue to live life the way that it was. And I knew that it had to be different, or I didn't want to be here anymore. I was depressed. I was full of anxiety, and I was just angry. And I'd carried this anger for so many years. And so, like I said, I got myself back in therapy, and I started working with a coach with the intent of actually just trying to find out what was next for me in terms of my job, in terms of what I was going to do for a living, because I was so burnt out with the nursing field. And a crazy thing happened. And
It's kind of funny how things turn us around in life,
mhm,
whether again it's intentionally, unintentionally, but somehow we can find an opening or a new beginning if we
mhm,
just stay open minded.
absolutely. It's so true. And yeah, so this crazy, like I started working, we also just started working on me. We were digging out stories. And, part of the issue with my nursing burnout was PTSD because some traumatic events from my childhood happened in front of my eyes as an emergency room nurse. And it replayed for 6 months before I finally decided I needed to change and I needed to get some help. And ultimately what happened is, yes, my podcast was birthed, but I also learned
Podcast,
that
podcast. What are you talking about?
podcast.
A podcast? Look at this. We got an image up here of our podcast, and it's called Path to Me. And I went and looked at some of your podcasts. I didn't have time to listen to any yet, but I'm going to go in and listen to a couple of your episodes. And seems like you're doing kind of similar to what I do, is talking about our problems, overcoming adversities, and where we're at in life and how we're going.
Yeah,
So
really, it's the road to how.
anybody listening to my podcast, go and search for Sara's. Again, it's Path to Me podcast, and give her a little listen.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally appreciate that. It's all about the road to how you became who you are today and what you've overcome and the tools and tricks that you use to get through the hard things that we've all had to live through.
And that way we can help somebody else get through it quicker with our tips
Absolutely.
and tricks, so
Yeah,
they don't have to suffer as long as we did.
sharing our journeys. It's
So
so important, and it's something I've become so passionate about since writing my story and everything that I've done. And now, what came of all of these things, the book, the podcast, working with my coach, working with my therapist, is I'm now starting a business that is something I'm so naturally good at, but I never would have seen because I gained this confidence in myself and I found my voice again and I'm speaking and, all these things that I didn't do for years because I didn't want to be seen by others because I didn't want them to know how different I was. I didn't want, God forbid I failed again.
you didn't want to uncork the troubling genie within you.
hmm
So, all right.
God forbid I failed again. God forbid I disappointed my parents again or did something wrong that was so beyond my control. But
Yeah.
what happened through the therapy and the coaching is I found me and I found my voice, and I've learned that failure is a part of life. It's actually not bad. It's
I
actually
would
not
im
bad at all. It's
I would
actually
imagine we fail more than we're successful because,
yeah.
it's a learning step, learn what to do to be able to get to being successful. In
Mhm,
baseball, you only have to get 3 hits out of 10. So you're out 70% of the time, but if you can
mhm.
hit 300, which is 3 hits out of 10, you're considered a great hitter in baseball. And so Yeah. So Michael Jordan talked about all the failures he had. They depend on him taking the last shot of the game and how many he's taken and how many he's missed. And
Mhm.
but the joy of continuing on and finally hitting that shot, finding yourself is where we need to go.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I truly believe if you are like searching for what you want to do for a job, or you're so busy blaming everybody else around you for what's going on in your life, if you take 5 minutes and just like ask yourself why, like dig a little deeper inside yourself, you'll find answers that you never expected. I've said for years that I hate tech. I hate computers, cell phones, forget about it. I can do like the basic things. I'm literally starting a business where I help business owners with the back end of their business online,
There you go.
right? Like we stop ourselves from doing the things that we're naturally good at because we're afraid of failing. We're afraid of making that decision. We think we tell ourselves these stories that we don't like something. Meanwhile, like I should have gone to school for coding, but never in a million years would I have known back then that that was what was for me.
Yeah. I don't know if I wanted to go to school for coding. Of course, when I went to school, they didn't have all this stuff for me. But I don't know if I'd want to go back for coding. It looks a little difficult. But I would like to go on and learn more what I can do
Mm-hmm.
to experience more to help other people out here in the future in this big virtual land out here. They say this stuff on the internet is going to be here forever, they claim. So just think, Sarah, in 100 years from now, whatever it's called then, your
Mm-hmm.
story, your journey is going to be helping someone else from 100 years from now. They're going to
Yeah.
accidentally type in something, it's going to pop up, and and then they're
But
going to
how
laugh.
super
They're going to
cool
laugh
is
at our hairdos, and they're going to laugh how we're dressed. But
mm-hmm.
your message, you're going to listen to that message and how we're going to be able to help someone, because again, supposedly this stuff's on there forever now.
Yeah. And I think it's super cool. I think it's super cool that people I don't even know are reading my book. I think it's super cool that people I like don't even know are listening to a podcast, and that that's going to continue because it will be available for the end of time.
I I'm a strong believer and would encourage anyone that they should write their own memoir,
Mm-hmm.
whether they intend to make any money or not. It's just so you can pass it down to the great grandkids later on, so
Mm-hmm.
they can see how you grew up and how you fought through adversity and persevered, and give them a little heads up, and then
Mm-hmm.
they could add on to the book if they wanted to. You can have 10,000 volumes by the time
Yeah.
you keep passing it down. But sadly enough, not everybody will write their story, their journey. But I sure wish I'd have got my grandparents back then. Back then, we didn't have all this computer to do everything and self-publish and do all this stuff to make it easy. But I wish I'd have got the stories from my grandparents. So
Yeah.
my grandfather would start off a story like he'd go, back in 1983. So that's how he would start off a story. so,
That's
so,
awesome.
all right,
Yeah.
Sarah. So, wow, this has been fun. I'm glad we connected. I'm glad we met up, and I'm glad I found you on Podmatch and
Mm-hmm.
seeked you out to get your story. And so you're an amazing woman, and you're going to continue on to be an amazing one. Don't let someone or somehow steal your voice ever again. Don't lose
No.
your power. You have so much to offer to help somebody out there again that you don't even know that
Mm-hmm.
you're helping in the future. So
No.
please be you and don't alter from it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. And just for anybody that's listening right now, the key takeaway from my journey and my story is that you are the only person that gets to decide what you're capable of and what you will do in your life. Not your parents, not your school board, not your teachers, not your friends, not your anybody. You are the only person that gets to make the decisions and choices and choose what it is that you'll do in your life.
Amen, sister. Put it out there. Hey, now before we get off here, go ahead and give your website, social media, how people can find you,
Yeah,
and how we can
absolutely.
find your book again, your podcast, and yeah, put out all your social media so people can find you.
Perfect. So, Path to Me, the podcast is available on all major podcast places, including Audible, Spotify, and iTunes. The book is available on Amazon. Again, it's The Great Canadian Woman, She is Strong in 3, Volume 3. It's a collaborative book with me and 13 other authors who share a wide range of different stories. Trust me, they're so incredibly inspiring. And you can find me personally. I have 2 accounts on Instagram. One is for the podcast. It's at Path to Me Podcast. And then my personal account is at Sara, no H, Sara G Hope.
There we go. And appreciate you coming on again. And you have lightened and enlightened my day already. And so we have 2 more to help improve that since you've got it started here. So
absolutely.
Everybody else, hey, share this message, share this journey of Sarah's of losing her voice, her power, self-esteem, and how she had overcome that to be where she's at, to be able to have her own podcast, be a nurse, writing her own book, doing her own thing in life. So everybody else, do something today, tomorrow, something next week that's going to help you persevere past your